Hey, Tia Silvesi here, Florida Friendly Landscaping Agent with University of Florida Extension, Orange County. Today I'm going to talk about transplanting troubleshooting, because you might have been starting a lot of seeds at home and then they sprouted. So now what next? I'm going to share with you today. So this basil, this is a purple basil right here, and I started it in a little tiny 6-pack. And so it's overdue to be transplanted. It's actually in stunted growth right now. So I'm gonna loosen this up and pull the plant out. And there's actually 2 plants right here, but it's just a basil, so it doesn't really matter. They're not that sensitive. I'm gonna put this in a 4-inch pot. So I just have some decent potting mix here that's made from a blend of potting soil and compost, and I'm just gonna bump it up into the 4-inch pot, and just by doing that it's gonna grow bigger. You know the concept of you have a little fish in a little fish tank? Well, just by putting this basil plant in a bigger pot, it's gonna give it more area to grow its roots and more nutrients to get bigger. So right like that. The next plant I'm going to show you is this cilantro. Now cilantro has a relatively short life, and this cilantro is already bolting, so it's not really worth potting up too much. I might just stick it into grow box or something in the corner that I already have going on. I won't spend too much time or energy with it. So how about this problem? You planted multiple seeds per pot and they all grew. All right, so you don't really want 2 or 3 squash plants or tomato plants growing in the same pot. So you have a couple options. One, you can take the scissors and just cut it. But hey, this squash plant is already a month old. It's already producing buds to flower. So I'm gonna do what I call separate the twins. And it's best just to do this with your hands, where you gently separate the 2 plants, and voila. So now I'll put these in a bigger pot. So I'll use something more like a 5-inch pot here and put it up in here. And this plant, if you can see, is a little bit nitrogen deficient. I can tell that by the yellowing of the leaves right here. And so pot it up, give it lots of soil, and then you might want to top dress with a little bit of fertilizer. So if you're going organic, you can use some kind of compost or organic fertilizer like fish emulsion or alfalfa meal. If you're going conventional, you can sprinkle in a little bit of synthetic fertilizer, whatever you use, Osmocote or a balanced fertilizer. And then pat that down, and I put a little extra layer on to cover up the fertilizer. All of these I'll be watering in after the video, by the way. So let's look at the next subject here. This is a healthy bell pepper plant, but it's only in a 4-inch pot. So if I want to get peppers, I'm gonna have to bump it up to at least a 1-gallon, if not a 3-gallon pot. So look at this healthy root system here. I'm just gonna massage this gently so the new roots can grow into the new pot, and I'll give it a little soil in the bottom. And this I'm trying to plant at the same level as the stem is coming out. So fill it up about like so, and I'll break up some of the roots on the top too, and then fill it up the rest of the way. And again, add a little bit of fertilizer on the top. So this I'll probably want to bump up into a 3-gallon pot in order to get fruits eventually if I want it to last all summer. So the last thing I'm going to show you is this tomato plant. You ever see at the store, this is the only thing that's left, is these tall leggy tomato plants in the little cell pots? Well, don't worry, they might still produce tomatoes. So what you can do is you can take this. Now the way that we did it in the field when I was a kid with my grandma is we actually planted them sideways. And this part would be under the ground and this part would be sticking up. It makes little roots coming off the stem here. So this tomato plant is okay to bury deep. And so what you can do with that is stick it way down in the pot. That way it will grow roots out of all this stem that you're gonna bury. So bury that tomato plant deep, and eventually you'll want to bump this up to a 3-gallon pot too. So you plant the tomato plant, again add some fertilizer, whatever you have, because tomatoes are very heavy feeders, and so they like to have a lot of fertilizer. And you can read more about fertilizer recommendations in the UF-IFAS documents for vegetables. But give it a healthy filling of the pot, and voila, your tomato is good to grow. Now I didn't just bump it up into the 3-gallon pot because this tomato is still small, so I'll let it grow another month or so and then I'll bump it up into the 3-gallon pot. So hopefully you're growing some nice vegetables at home, and I hope this video was helpful, so keep tuned for more.